Francesco Landini is one of the earliest composers we will be working with during this course. Although he became blind in childhood, this didn't prevent him from becoming famous at an early age as organist, composer, instrument builder, poet, and singer. Around 1375, he assisted in the renovation of the organ at the Servite House in Florence. And among the surviving records are the receipts for the wine consumed during the 3 days it had taken to tune the instrument. Landini is considered one of the major composers of the Trecento style and was certainly the most important composer of his time in Italy. His popularization of the Landini cadence ensured his lasting fame over the centuries. Unusually, all of Landini's surviving works are secular, mostly 2- and 3-voice ballate, a confusing term which comes from the word ballare, to dance, but then used for a particular song form. The Trecento, literally the 1300s, is also known as the Italian Ars Nova, a blossoming of new styles in music composition. Secular music became more polyphonically complex, allowing greater expressivity, and often compared to the development of perspective in painting, also invented in 14th century Italy. Hi Gamba friends. Today we're going to be looking at Ecco la Primavera by Francesco Landini. This is a very old song and it feels very far from us, both harmonically and rhythmically. This has some challenges for the bow. For the left hand, we're mostly just in the first position with one little extension. So for the left hand, it's not so tricky. For the right, there's a few rhythmic tricks that we need to be aware of. As we start, let's make sure we put both our third finger and our first finger down. We've got our whole first bar is ready. And we're just going to cover that so we don't have to go back to the A, just for one note. Now, the eighth notes in bar 2 are one syllable, ma. So we don't want that to be too short. We want them to be very connected to each other. And we've got a zigzag in the beginning. So I'm using quite a lot of bow on that A, but it's very light. Because that's my goal, is the first beat of bar 3. I'll play it again. And now we go on, and we've got the rhythm here. So, this music was written without bar lines. That made it much easier for them to feel the difference between 3/4 and 6/8. Mathematically, of course, 3/4 and 6/8 are exactly the same. They each have 6/8 notes per bar, but in 3 we have 3 accents, 1 and 2 and 3 and. And in 6/8 we have 2 accents, 1 and 2 and 3 and, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We want to feel that 6/8 without it actually feeling like a syncopation. If we were to accent the first 8th note, so the D, the second beat of the bar, it would sound like a syncopation. And I think it's nicer if we accent, if we lean on the quarter notes so that we really feel that there's 2 beats in the bar. And here's the extension that I was talking about. Using that open string to go back to the half position. Of course, you're very welcome to play a 4 if you want for the B. I am not a big fan of 4 on these lower strings, so I prefer to use the first finger as a pivot and extend to a third finger for the B. So while I'm playing this C sharp, I'm already opening, and then I get there, which I think sounds much nicer than, which to me is a little dull. Now we go on. Here we've got another retake. 2 downs. Let's practice that a little bit. Not only 2 downs, but also string crossing and jumping over a string. So be very careful you don't touch the C string in the middle. Make sure it's quick and the bow is on the string before we actually play the note, and not something sloppy like that. Here we're back to 3/4, but not for long. To end the first half. The final bar of this first half, c'era, is strong weak. We don't get the luxury of doing that because of the way the bow has worked out. We're on a down, up. We still have to make it sound strong, weak. So a very light up bow. I'll play that final phrase and then I'll go on. And there we've got 2 6/8 bars in a row. These are extra special because the bass line is still playing in 3/4. So we've got the 3/4 and the 6/8 at the same time against each other, which gives it a very spontaneous feeling. Be careful that you don't forget the G natural in bar 15. It's a sort of surprising note. It's not what we thought was going to happen. That's why I put an extra second finger there to help you. And now make sure you count this rest well, because we're still thinking in 6/8, but it's 1, 2, 3. And allegria, we now can do it as we prefer, strong, weak. Now it's your turn.